What's up guys? Welcome back to CX Angling. Today we are doing a tournament review slash breakdown of what I did, what I used the 2023 season, and the first one we're going to do, if you saw from the title of this video, is going to be Lake Pueblo. We aren't doing John Martin because that one got canceled and we just caught some walleye on a black hair jig. And not only that, so all these baits that I'm going to go through you can find on Omnia Fishing. Omnia Fishing is a great site. It's one of the only sites that will give you points and stuff. Once you create an account, will give you points, has great shipping, great customer service, great selection. And you know, why not get points if you're spending all this money? I mean, I'm spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on tackle, on fishing, and while you're at it, might as well get points that you can use on your next purchase. Apart from that, let's just jump right into it. Pre-fishing went great, caught a lot of fish, figured out what I liked, figured out what I didn't like, and figured out what I think is going to hold a little bit bigger fish. And we started there in the morning, early on in the morning, throwing a drop shot and a Ned rig. First things first, for the drop shot, I was using the Berkley Maxent Flatworm 3.6 inch in the white and the green pumpkin. Very plain and simple. Everyone knows the Berkley Maxent catches fish, drop shotting catches a lot of fish. Very finesse. Throwing that on 8-pound Sunline fluorocarbon paired up to 15-pound, I believe it is Daiwa J-Braid Grand in the flash green. Is it flash green? I don't know, it's the lime green, very bright green. And I'm throwing that on a NRX 822 DSR. First two numbers, 82 is going to be the inches, so this is a 6'10" rod, a little bit shorter. I like that, making short pitches. For drop shotting, I'm making more target casts and just long bomb casts in the middle of nowhere that I don't even know where it's going. And then I've got that paired up to a 2500 Shimano Vanford. Perfect balance on the rod and the reel, and plenty of line, and it's great for casting, great drag, super light. Love that setup. It's probably my favorite drop shot setup. The DSR has got a very parabolic bend, right? Plenty of backbone for a drop shot. You know, you're not gonna need anything more than that, but a very light tip. So I throw this on, was it 3/16 ounce drop shot weights or 1/4 ounce drop shot weights is kind of the sweet spot. Anything more than that, it's a little bit too heavy, it overloads the rod, overpowers the rod. And that is the setup I like to use. Oh, I forgot the hooks, but the hooks I like to use are the Trokar TK150-2 or the -1. I believe the -2-1 just refers to the size, and the 2 is perfect for the smallmouth. It's plenty. It's big enough that you can get a good, you know, it's got a big enough gap. And if I was going for more of a largemouth, I'm going to go with the #1. And also, depending on what plastic you're using, if you're using a lot bigger and thicker plastics, then obviously go with the #1. If you're using, you know, like drop shot, just simple stuff, robo worms, go with the #2. One thing I want to get into with this hook is that, and maybe we'll compare it later on too, but it's a slightly thicker gauge wire, which I like. You're not going to bend out if you horse these fish a little bit more. And then not only that, the barb, I mean, everyone makes sharp hooks, so I'm not going to say that this is sharper than any other hook, but the one thing that is very different about this hook compared to any other hook that's out there on the market is go ahead and take a look at the barb compared to any other, go take it and compare it to any other hook out on the market. This barb is probably the biggest and the best barb that there is out there. You'll see in the video that I'm always having to take these, you know, I can't even get these out with my fingers, right? I got to use a needleless pliers just to get these out of the fish's mouth, which is completely fine. A lot of people will say, well, that takes more time, but when you're talking about tournament fishing and you're talking about not losing fish, you're gonna want this hook for drop shotting. That's just plain and simple, and that's gonna be the drop shot setup right there. That caught us the most fish, and I don't know if it caught us the biggest one, but it definitely caught us the most fish, and it was the most effective setup. After that, we did catch a lot on the Ned rig. The Ned rig, my go-to obviously isn't a TRD. It's not a turd, but it is the Bugs, and this is the exact color too. Is the Deal. This is by Z-Man. The Deal and the TRD Bugs, it's got this green pumpkin and it transitions to kind of like this bluish. If you guys look at a lot of the craws that we have in Colorado, they have that green pumpkin, and at the claws they're kind of blue. And this is like the closest thing, which also could, you know, imitate a bluegill, which I love. It's perfect. In between you're gonna catch a lot of fish. You're never gonna have to worry about tearing these up. And the nice thing is they're buoyant. So if you don't know, Z-Man plastics are buoyant. So this also helps it stick up and give it a little more action when it's on the ground, you're dragging it. And I paired this up too. So I usually like to use just a standard Ned rig head, but when I'm fishing around rock, anytime I'm fishing around rock where I want to get really as much contact and feel of the bottom, I'm gonna go to a football head, you know, get a little bit more surface area. It's gonna roll around rocks and a little bit of bumps or whatever that's down there a little bit better. It's not gonna get caught up too much. Plain and simple, this one's made by Z-Man's, their football head for the Ned rigs. It's got plenty of good keeper, all you're gonna need, and then a good hook, really good hook. It's thick enough, you're not gonna bend it out. It's sharp enough that you're not gonna have to set the hook super hard just to get that point through. Super simple. Throw that on a 7-foot medium light Shimano Zodius paired up to another Vanford 2500. I'm using 10-pound braid on this guy, I believe, or 15-pound braid. They're small. It's small enough between 10 and 15-pound braid that I personally don't think it makes that big of a difference, but I will drop down to 6-pound line for these because when I'm throwing it out there, most times I'm dragging it. The other times I'm hopping it and letting it sit for 5-6 seconds. When it's sitting there and the fish comes in real slow and takes a really good look at it, the last thing you want them to see is your line. So that's why I'll drop down to 6 unless I'm fishing a lot dirty water, then I'll go up to 8. This is the NRX 872S JWR. It's a medium 7'3" NRX Plus rod. I have that paired up to a 3000, a little bit overkill, 3000 Shimano X-Sense. This one's actually a JDM one, came from Japan, and great drag, great castability, great line capacity, super light, and I believe these are rated for saltwater too, which you're not gonna find in Colorado, but hey, it's a plus. I love this rod. That 7.3 gives you plenty of casting distance. The 872 is definitely a little bit more stiff. It's more like an extra fast action, but I like having that when I'm dragging stuff on the bottom. I like that extra fast action because I can feel the rocks. I can feel when it becomes mud or dirt or whatever it is, right? Or if it's a fish, right? So that is going to be my tube jig setup. The tube jig setup. And what did it for us at Pueblo is going to be these Net Baits 2.5-inch tubes. This is in the Frosty Pumpkin. Is it Frosty Pumpkin? Yeah, Frosty Pumpkin. It's got the bait fuel already in there. It works perfect. I think it was more of a sight thing than it was a scent thing for this. And then I have that paired up to a Blade Runner Inhaler jig head right there. That's the hook. The gauge on this hook is nice and thick. You're not gonna bend this out, but it's thin enough, like I said, with everything else. It's a smallmouth, you're fishing clear water, that you don't need a heavy rod to, I mean, here's the tube, you're not gonna need a heavy rod to set the hook on this guy. This fits right inside the tube, and it's perfect length. The shank is a perfect length that you're obviously going to keep everything hidden except for just the hook. So perfect for that, I love it. And then lastly, I think this was kind of a very simple technique, but a lot of big fish on this time are on the bottom, but I still decided to throw a swim bait, and you can't go wrong with a swim bait anywhere. It's almost the most simple thing that there is in fishing anywhere because it resembles a fish, a shad, or whatever. What we were throwing that is, if you guys saw, it's going to be a Kitech Easy Shiner, Kitech Easy Shiner, and the TW Shad. I love that color. It's the perfect imitation for shad over there. And then I paired that up too, if I can find it. This is a VMC hybrid swim bait head. I like these heads. It's definitely a lighter gauge wire. I haven't bent any of these out. I caught some wiper on these ones and held up just fine, but it's definitely a little bit lighter. Gives the head and the angle, like the line tie, the angle of the line tie. It's not basically it's not a vertical, but it's not out way in the front too. And it's just the perfect amount where you can, you know, slow roll it and get nice body roll too, which is why I like that line tie. Has a good keeper, perfect for any Z-Man. This plastics right here. I was throwing that on him, just as simple. This is a Mega Bass X Bites, not the, like, I guess the rod that was intended to throw little swim baits like that, but I like extra fast action or fast action rods. That's just my personal preference. I have that with the Daiwa Steez CTTW 70 or something like that. That's what it is. I don't know. These names get too long. It's getting ridiculous. The steez, man, you can cast anything from, you can almost do bait finesse with this and go out and do, I'm not gonna say heavy flipping, but you can pretty much go and drag jigs, you can flip stuff, it's got plenty of drag power, and it's super light, stupid light. I love this reel so much. I think this is honestly my favorite setup that I own. But yeah, that's those are going to be the baits that we caught them on at Pueblo. My game plan was basically to not go to every point. A lot of people go to the points, and for one, you get more pressure, you get more traffic. You're also competing with different anglers at those spots, and those fish become smart, especially the year-round at Pueblo. It's one of our busiest lakes for fishing, and I decided to go and check out some other spots near the dam, find some beach areas where it's more flat, you don't get much of any depth changes, and I was able to find some brush sticking up, and the fish were all sucked to those, right? So I drag stuff, drag a drop shot, drag a tube, drag a jig, and they'd come out and hit those right there, and that was what did it for me. I mean, you just gotta like try maybe do something different from what everyone else is doing. Sometimes that's where you'll find the bigger ones, or that's where you have more success, or fish haven't seen a bait after 30 people have ran through. But that was the lake breakdown and review of Pueblo. Go check out Omnia Fishing. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys liked seeing what we caught them on, and hopefully this helps you guys go out there on that body of water around that time or whenever and try out some new baits, try out stuff that you don't have much confidence in, brands and hooks that you don't have much confidence in or have never tried, and go out there and catch some fish, man. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and like the video and subscribe. Thanks. I'll see you guys in the next one.